Welcome guys, we got a video today. We're going to do a little upgrading. We're going to upgrade the suspension on the single seat 250 swapped Buggy, and that is the reason why. Let me explain. I got this Buggy. This is a hammerhead. It's very common. There's a lot of these out here. This was purchased in 2018. It was almost new when I got it, so I've had it for over 5 years. I've gotten a lot of use out of it, and I like the Chinese buggies. I will say this: when you get a Chinese buggy, if you just get one and you take it off-road, you're going to find out that they're not super capable. But the reason why is because the motors they put in them are geared and set up for a scooter. These are buggies. They don't do a whole lot of modifications to them. They slap them in a buggy, they sell them to Americans. Americans buy them and they're like, ah, man, they kind of stink. But you can overcome a lot of that. And I'm just going to go over a little bit of what I've done on this buggy. The first thing you'll notice is the tires. Well, it has 25-inch tires in the rear, and it has 24-inch tires up front. And that helps a lot with the performance. It can get through things. But if all you do is change tires, which some guys do, yes, it'll work, but it will not work well, because you figure a tire is like a gear, and you've put it a higher gear in your machine that's already geared way too high, okay? So when you go up a hill or you go through mud, it's going to bog down and you're not going to be happy. It's going to be awful. This one does not suffer from that at all. This one does quite well with these big tires. So I've done a lot of things for it to overcome the tires. The first thing I did, it comes with a 16 gear that's on your motor or a sprocket, and a 31 on the axle. Well, I changed that to a 12 gear. So we'll look over here and you can actually see the gears a little bit. So I went from a 12 gear, let's see a little better here. And on the bottom, we got a 39 sprocket, okay? So let's see a little better in there maybe. Okay, so there's your 12 and your 39. Okay, I also, while we're back here and we're looking at things, I put a JD custom exhaust on there, and it sounds really mean. I highly recommend it. I got my fishing gear on there too, because hey, I like to take it fishing. Okay, I put a CVT kit on it. I put a red. It helps keep the CVT in a lower gear. Your CVT, what it does is it's your automatic transmission. It's a belt drive that automatically changes gear. It is a torque converter in a sense. Well, it holds it in a lower gear a little bit longer, kind of like a tow haul mode in a truck. And it really helps with, going up hills and whatnot, especially with the bigger tires. But the gear change alone, if that's all you did, it will help you if you put on, and it's a pretty inexpensive and simple thing to do if you are putting on bigger tires. But really, you kind of need to do that as well. Another thing I did on these, so if you notice on the bottom here, okay, so it typically has a bar that goes from here all the way out and around, and it tends to get hung up on everything. Well, I don't know if you can see that, but I welded a bar right here and to the chassis up here, and what that does is it gives me more ground clearance. But the bigger tires also provide that, so that was just a little more involved. Okay, I put on a 71 millimeter big bore kit on it that helped to give it a little more power. But once again, if that's all you do, that's just one thing. It's a combination of things you got to do with these things to get them to perform, really well. I put a ported head on. I used a 26 millimeter Glixal carb, which is a stock looking carb. It's just a little bit bigger. And that really helped. Let me show a picture. But you know what a stock looking carb looks like if you have one of these things. Nothing amazing. I've tried slide carbs. I've tried a Nibby, I've tried a Mikuni, and I'll be honest with you, I know a lot of guys swear by them. I have absolutely no luck with those. When the throat opens and you quick snap and take off, Mine stall out. I've tried every jet combination, every setting, every idle jet, and it just doesn't matter. So I've put in both this buggy here and in this buggy, well, I've put in the stock style carburetors. They perform really good. Now, if I was racing like, the guys in Florida do, I'm going to have to get them to work. But in this case, just for riding in the trails or whatever, I have ample power. The thing does incredibly well. You also notice the comfortable Polaris seats I have in there. Yes, I put those in, and you have to do some fabrication to get them to work, okay? It's not a plug and play, it's not simple, but they do fit, and they are extremely comfortable. I would recommend them, but I want to tell you, once I put them in, I realized something. As soon as I sat in, everything was fine, and you put my helmet on, and guess what? I hit the roof. So I actually had to cut off the roll cage, and you'll see, you can kind of see right here where I had to weld in an extension. So it's up 2.5 inch higher. There's 3 points. I'm sorry, 3 points on each side, so 6 points altogether that I had to raise the roll cage. And also, well, you can see I got my little, I found out on the side of the road, but my little flashy light on the top. Hey, it's good to know if you're in a trail, you want somebody to know that you're there. Nothing wrong with that. So now that brings us to the last modification I want to talk about, and that is the shocks. Okay, now that is not a hammerhead front shock. That is a hammerhead rear shock. So it is an inch longer, and the performance is great. Over here, it's the same size as a hammerhead. It's a RFY shock, and they're okay if you're going to go slow and there's not a lot of, big bumps in the trail, but that's not how I ride. And it's just, and I even have a custom thicker spring on there. It came with this spring here, which is, a wimpy spring, but I went heavy duty, and even with that, it does bottom out when I'm going faster. In comparison, this one will do 42 miles an hour top speed, even with the gear down. If you've watched the build video, I geared this thing down because it also has the bigger tires. This top speed is 38, but I can go at full speed and hit whoops and bumps, and it does not bottom out because I'm running the rear shock. It's 13.5 inches. So how do you get a 13.5 inch shock where a 12.5 inch shock goes? Because the stock ones, and no matter how good of a quality you put of a shock at 12.5 inches, I have not got one to work well. So I put this shock in, and what I did was, where the mount is, I actually cut it off with a Sawzall and smoothed it out. Of course, re-weld it. Don't look too close to my welds because I'm not a welder. I'm just a hobby guy. And I put them up higher. So you have to level the machine out first so you get it exactly in the right spot. You bolt it up. And I'm going to go through that because now what I got over here is I have shocks for this. I'm going to go through the same process. I'm so happy with how this one performs so much better at full speed over bumps than this one does. I'm just going to do it on this one. And I know there's other shocks you could get, and you could spend big dollars, but I know that this works. So I'm going to have to do the same thing. I'm going to have to cut the mounts off there, and I'm going to raise them up. But first I'm going to get the buggy to the desired ride height, and I'm going to do that. So I'm going to take you through that in this video. So hang on. Also, somebody's going to ask, in a heads-up race between this modified hammerhead and this one, which I did a race for science video, in a heads-up race right now with stock carburetors, the hammerhead is faster for a short race. And then, of course, top speed 38, top speed 42, obviously the single-seater does win. And that was, so we did a race for science before the rebuild, and after rebuild, and I did gear it lower, so it did make this thing actually a little bit slower than the hammerhead. But as it breaks in, maybe it gets faster. I don't care. It does have more torque, And that's really what I was looking for. I'm a little disappointed about the speed. The top end speed is fine, but that's not, what these things are all about. So let's get back to where we're at for progress wise. So you can see I cut the upper mount off, which is right here. And I know you guys are looking at this and some of you guys are like, oh man, there's a gap in there. I sure hope this guy is a certified gap welder. And the answer is yes, I am a certified gap welder. So on this side, we're kind of starting to mock up where we're going to want it. I'm going to have to put the tires back on and get it set for height. But what we're going to do is oh boy, like a puzzle piece here. We're going to put that piece where we desire it once we get our desired ride height, and we're going to weld it in. We got it all cleaned off where it was. So it's not that big a deal if you're any kind of welder or you have, even like a hobby welder. But this is not a how-to video. As a disclaimer, this is how I'm doing it. I would suggest having things professionally welded, but for the Chinese buggies, for what I'm using them for, it's just fine. Okay. Also, if I got a GoPro camera, and I finally dug it out, got it working. So I'm going to try to do a ride video either at the end of this video or the next video. And we'll see how well these things work. But I'll tune back in when we're finished our welding. Well, there it is. This all happened in one evening and it's done. Not that big a deal. For a guy like me, a hobby guy like me, that's a pretty significant change, modification that we did. But the shocks are on and installed, nice and level. I wish I had my racing weights to make sure all four corners were somewhat equal. But I'll guarantee out of the Chinese factory, it's not that perfect to begin with. But I think we got it pretty good. I can feel, I put my weight on there and that thing barely moves. I don't know what the camera shows, but that's a problem that's fixed. It worked out so well on this. What a difference it made on the 170. Now the 250 single seater, the suspension is set up good. I really like the strut suspension on these. I know some guys really don't care for them, but the amount of steering you get in the woods is amazing. I mean, yes, it has reverse, but a lot of times you don't even need it. So that's going to wrap up this video. I'm not going to do the ride part. I'm going to save that for another video. This is just one evening. I'd rather just get this video out. But one thing I do want to share with you. One of my videos hit almost 5,000, which is surprising that there's that many people that interested in these buggies. But hey, that's great. Good for you. I'm glad if you all are enjoying it, that's great. You can hit the like button. If not, you can hit the don't like it button. I don't care. But anyway, I'm not doing it for any monetization or anything like that. I just like shooting the videos, but something I want to share with you. So we knew there was a problem because we bottomed out. In our lives, well, here's the thing. You have a problem with your life, and you may not even realize it. And the question is, are you going to go to heaven or hell when you die? Yeah, it's just a random question, but Pop, I'm asking it. Are you going to go to heaven or hell when you die? A lot of people think, well, I'm a good person. I'm okay. Everything's fine. I don't need any modifications. I should go to heaven. Well, hold on first. The Bible says something different. This isn't what I'm saying. This is what the Bible says. In Romans 3:23, the Bible says, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. See, God's telling us there's a problem with our life. We need modification. The way we come, we've all sinned. And we've fallen short of His standard. His standard is perfection, and none of us reach it. So in other videos, I like to share just one verse, maybe a video. If it offends you, then be offended. But I just want to share a video, and I don't want to share it to offend you because I love you. And I do want to share it with you that, listen, God has a solution. God has a modification for you. And that modification is a relationship, not a religion, a relationship with Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'll share more later. Guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. Hit that notification bell. Do whatever you like. Thanks, guys.